And we bring in a couple of ladies from Indiana who are in Newsmax, New York this morning. The chicks on the right, they call themselves, Miriam Weaver and Amy Jo Clark. They co-authored their new book, Right for a Reason, Life, Liberty, and a crap load of common sense. Ladies, welcome back to America's Forum.
Love that title.
So good to have you all back with us here.
Thank you.
Now, we're going to get to the book, but first, Amy Jo, I got to ask you, war on women, who's really waging that war?
Well, actually, we talk about the war on women in our book, and it really doesn't exist. We think it's a manufactured tactic by the left. And when we talk about the war on women, or when people talk about it in this country, it's funny because what happened to Joni Ernst this week, I think, is very telling of who is waging the war on women. And it's interesting how the left goes silent when stuff like that happens. When you hear Harkin talk about how attractive she is, and how that's the reason why she's winning and why she's doing really well right now. It's interesting how you hear crickets about this whole war on women thing. And how if a Republican would have said that, it would have just been, you know, all over the place. We would have been hearing it everywhere. But since it wasn't a Republican, like I said, crickets.
Well, listen, you mentioned what Tom Harkin had to say in Iowa. It's worth a listen right now. We'll listen to it again and talk with you more about it. Fair enough, here it is.
In this Senate race, I've been watching some of these ads. And there's sort of this sense that, well, you know, I heard someone say, well, Joni Ernst, she's really attractive. And she sounds nice. Well, I got to thinking about that. I don't care if she's as good looking as Taylor Swift or as nice as Mr. Rogers. But if she votes like Michelle Bachmann, she's wrong for the state of Iowa.
Joni Ernst said she found those comments offensive. Ladies, do you find them offensive?
You know, I loved Joni's response to that. I love that she used a Taylor Swift pop culture reference to respond and said that she was just shaking off the comment, which was perfect. I thought her response to it was absolutely perfect. I can't say that I'm offended by the comment. You know, just as a woman, I don't mind being complimented. But that wasn't necessarily a compliment either. And whenever a woman's looks factor into her competence as a politician, that's just wrong. And the left is always the first to point that out unless it happens to a Republican woman.
And that isn't the reason why she's doing well, obviously.
So ladies, today is an election day, and I wanted to mention there has been more money spent on this midterm election than ever in the history, and a lot of those ads were really targeting women. I'm curious to know, which female Republican candidates do you think young women should be watching to stand up for their interests?
Well, we're huge fans of Mia Love, and we actually interviewed her back when she did her previous campaign, and would just love to see her climb up through the ranks.
Yeah, we love her so much.
Okay.
And she embodies what we think is that conservative makeover, which is our tagline on our website, chicksontheright.com. She's everything that we talk about and what we've been talking about for the past almost 6 years. And
Mia Love, of course, a candidate for Congress in Utah, as her name appears on the ballot as a Republican nominee there in the Beehive State. Let me talk to you more about the book. The title is one thing. The cover, it looks like you're having loads of fun. So I guess you've dispelled the rumor that conservative ladies cannot have a good time. What's the one overwhelming message you want to get across with the book, Amy Jo?
Well, I think that what we want to show people is that conservatism is not a one-size-fits-all, and that, you know, we aren't all just a bunch of, you know, old white dudes. And no offense to old white dudes.
Yeah, I was just going to say, wait a minute here. You know, I'm an old white dude.
We like old white dudes.
Oh, good.
We love a lot of old white dudes. We love old white dudes, but we're not all that. And we come in all shapes and sizes, and I think that, you know, we've taken a beating over the past couple years, over the past decade, really, and we need to get ahead of the messaging in the GOP, and we need to be more proactive in our messaging, and we talk a lot about that in our book, especially in the last chapter of our book, about how the GOP can get better at messaging and at PR and at, you know, going after the
suffice it to say,
vote.
people ought to read your book. We'll have you back. Miriam and Amy Jo, Chicks on the Right, thanks for your time. We're coming right back.